Hi, everyone. This is Paul Moran from Grand Opportunity USA, or GOUSA, the host and moderator for today's OppScore Debate, with or without the candidates for the Attorney General race in Nevada. With us is Republican nominee Sigal Chattah, who's running to unseat current Democrat Attorney General Aaron Ford, who has not accepted our debate request after multiple attempts to reach his office. Sigal will instead debate Ford's record, platform, and positions as found in the public record, on his website, and in the media. Information that is also found in his OppScore rating produced by GOUSA. Suzanne Monk is joining us to read out Ford's record, as he has refused to join the debate to discuss and defend his record and positions for the voters of Nevada. GOUSA is a nonpartisan 501c4 nonprofit organization, and the OppScore, short for Opportunity Score, is the first, one and only unbiased political credit rating that simply shows which politicians are working in support of the Constitution and the will of the people, and who's working against us. The app is free to use and was developed to give voters an easy, fast, and better way to assess candidates for office before they cast their vote, based on the issues they care most about. At GOUSA, we are the voice of the forgotten 80%. As we like to say, it's not left versus right or red versus blue. Really, it's them versus you. So now for the debate rules. I will ask a series of 10 questions of the candidates. Republican candidate Sigal Chattah will go first, and Suzanne will then speak for Democrat Ford's positions, each having up to 2 minutes to respond to each question. At the conclusion of the responses, I will briefly respond to identify whether the candidate is supporting or opposing the Constitution and the majority will of the voters on a given topic, and then move to the next question. So let's let the games begin. I'm going to be bringing up Sigal to join us. Sigal, thank you very much for joining us today, and we can't wait to get into the debate with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. So will you please tell your voters why you're running and a bit about your platform before we get started?
So the reason that I'm running to be the Attorney General in Nevada is because, as a private citizen and an attorney practicing here in Nevada, I was so sick of the lack of transparency that this administration and this Attorney General has engaged in. I was sick of the public corruption that I had seen, and I was most sick of the crime and the lack of public safety. And the Attorney General is the top prosecutor and the top cop of the state. I've seen him since his administration started give kickback contracts to people, refuse to prosecute public officials engaged in kickback contracts, no bid contracts. And it's just become a systemic problem. They don't even hide it anymore. It's in plain view. And really the will of the people is, it's essentially not allowed to be expressed because there's this shroud of secrecy that the government in Nevada has been engaging in. So it's time to make crime illegal again. It's time to restore public integrity in the government. And, my number one promise was to provide transparency, and those who are culpable for engaging in public corruption will be investigated and indicted and hopefully incarcerated for their crimes.
Okay, thank you. Well, very impressive background, and we thank you for running. And I like your statement: make crime illegal again. Right? I mean, who would think that? I mean, and it's just crazy how much corruption is in our government across the board today. So thank you. And I'm going to go and now I'm going to read off of Aaron Ford's record. Again, Aaron Ford refuses to debate. And for someone that constantly talks about protecting democracy, you see it all over his website and everywhere else. I find it kind of bizarre that people that say that are the first people that refuse to debate, which is a cornerstone of our democracy. So shame on Aaron Ford for not debating. So we're going to read for him since he's not here. Okay. All right. So Aaron Ford is 50 years old, is an American lawyer and politician serving as the 34th Attorney General of Nevada since 2019. A member of the Democrat Party, he previously served as Nevada State Senator for the 11th District from 2013 to 2018, which encompasses parts of the Las Vegas Valley. Ford was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. He received his undergraduate degree from Texas A&M University in 1994, a master's degree from George Washington University, and he also has a Master of Arts, Juris Doctor, and PhD degrees from Ohio State University. In January 1991, Ford was arrested and charged with public intoxication on his college campus. He was then arrested a second time as a result of a payment plan dispute concerning a borrowed tire. The case was dismissed when he agreed to accelerate his payment to the tire shop owner. Attorney General Ford was also arrested twice, again, for failing to appear in court. So that is a little bit about the background of Aaron Ford, and I just find it interesting that someone's attorney general has, while it was a long time ago, still quite a, he was still an adult and he had 4 arrests, which is pretty shocking for somebody claiming the title of his attorney general in many people's opinion. So let's get started with the first question. Okay, so we have 10 questions. We're going to go through one at a time. And Sigal, you'll always be up first since you showed up to the debate. Number 1 on personal opportunity. Do you believe that everyone has the First Amendment right to religious liberty and free speech, including online speech? That's the first part of the question. The second part of the question is, do you believe that government has the right to use our private personal information for any reasons it deems necessary and has the right to mandate personal health and medical policy? What say you?
So first of all, I'm a huge proponent of the Constitution, and we talked a little bit about it. I'm a Federalist Society lawyer. So being a FedSoc lawyer, I'm a very conservative constitutionalist. Not only that, during COVID, I was actually the lawyer that sued our governor on places of worship and won in the Ninth Circuit, requiring him to open up places of worship just as other essential and businesses to the same capacities of those. So I'm an absolute proponent of the Constitution and the First Amendment. I don't cherry pick which constitutional rights that I'm a proponent of. I'm a proponent of all constitutional rights, whether it's the First, Second, Third, Fourth, Ninth, 10th Amendment. And another thing is to answer the second part of your question, I do not believe that the government should be able to shut down or stifle any type of speech.
Okay. Thank you for your answer on that. And we'll now go to Suzanne, who's going to read off Aaron Ford's position from his record. Who again show up.
Well done. Attorney General Ford has been actually a strong supporter of lockdowns, of mask mandates, and of vaccine mandates and other invasions of medical privacy under COVID. He was a huge supporter of Biden's policies. In fact, he himself was vaccinated very publicly and advocated on his own site for others to be vaccinated. Like his fellow Democrats, Ford claims to support free speech, but does little to fight or even recognize things like big tech censorship or other privacy issues. Okay.
So thank you, Suzanne. And to kind of wrap up with that, I'd like to just say that at GOUSA, our opinion is, we say this all the time: the Constitution and the will of the people. It's the First Amendment for the reason. It's number 1. Okay, you have to protect it. If he's not, and Aaron Ford, as Attorney General, is silent on the attacks, the clear and the public, the majority of the public sees the attacks on the First Amendment. And then, of course, when it comes to the mandates, the harsh, extreme, and apparently very clearly now unnecessary vaccine shutdowns and mandates and mask mandates were all, they destroyed billions of dollars of business and many lives. And I don't think.
And I might point out that Attorney General Ford did state that the vaccine would prevent transmission and would prevent individuals from getting the vaccine, which, as we know, the CDC themselves, the pharmaceutical companies themselves, said that was not accurately studied. So
that's another government lie that he's not, and no one's apologizing for. Right, Sigal? No one's apologizing for that.
No, matter of fact, all those lawsuits, all those mandates that he supported, I'm the attorney that actually sued him on those. So it was fun to go with the AG's office, and that was one of the inspirations for me to run.
Wow. Well, this question is even that much more important, and glad we asked it as one of our debate questions. So we thank you for your service in fighting for people's privacy rights for sure in Nevada. Okay, so we're going to move over to question number two. Question number two: Do you firmly support our Second Amendment rights to bear arms, and do you support gun control measures such as universal background checks and red flag laws and other gun control measures?
So I'm a constitutional carry candidate. I do think that, the Constitution is your CCW. Unfortunately, Nevada is not there yet as a state. One of the things that I always say is that the Second Amendment should never be tampered with. The Second Amendment really protects all the other amendments. So to ensure that, I'm not a proponent of red flag laws. I believe that when a new gun owner purchases a gun, the ATF 4473 is ample. It's an ample vetting process for gun ownership. What I do think that the failure is that there is a failure in prosecution of prohibited possessors. I've been very frank about this issue. One of my first BDRs will be mandatory minimums for prohibited possessors. There's an extreme failure by this attorney general and numerous DAs across the state to prosecute gun crimes. And that's where gun crimes should really begin, with the prosecution of the laws that are already on the books.
Okay, and those are, and again, your positions are reasonable and backed by the majority of the public. And what I'm going to do right now is pull up your OppScore rating. So this is the scoring that we do, the opportunity score ratings for candidates for office. And here we go. We're going to go to personal opportunity. We encourage people to go to the on your laptop or your mobile phone to look at these scores. And we're going to go right to the Second Amendment. And you received a thumbs up for your support of the Second Amendment, and also a thumbs up for favoring common sense gun laws, not unconstitutional gun laws like red flag laws, but common sense gun laws. And then we put the survey responses in here with your information about where your position is and the support of the American people on the Second Amendment, and also common sense support for common sense gun laws. So you won on both points. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to move to Aaron Ford's answers from the lovely Suzanne. What does Aaron Ford have to say about the Second Amendment?
Well, actually, Attorney General Ford is not a big proponent of the Second Amendment. He actually, while a state senator, co-sponsored SB 221 in 2013, which called for universal background checks. He is endorsed and works closely with several anti-gun rights groups like Everytown for Gun Safety, the Brady Campaign, and the Giffords PAC. He has also sponsored red flag laws and has a 0% rating from the NRA.
Okay. So, again, doesn't look like he's a big fan of the Constitution so far. Someone that's Attorney General who swears in the Constitution to defend it and protect it. Doesn't look like he's doing a very good job with the Second Amendment. And let's look at his score. So we'll do the same thing as we did with Sigal. And we have a thumbs down on his support for the Second Amendment. He gets a poor rating from various gun rights groups. And you just read out his positions on things. And again, that's the vast majority of people support the Second Amendment. He did a little better on common sense gun laws. He's got something of a mixed record, but he does support not having criminals, not letting criminals run rampant with guns, or certain background checks and things that some Americans support. So he gets a mixed score for that one. Okay. So let's go to the next question, and that would be number 3. Sigal, what is your specific position on abortion rights? Strongly pro-life, strongly pro-choice, or do you believe that a mother has the right to choose early in the pregnancy but oppose abortion after the first trimester?
So I'm an absolute, I'm pro-life. Okay, let me just start off with that. I absolutely am against partial birth abortions. In the state of Nevada, a woman has a right to an abortion the first 24 weeks, no questions asked. That law cannot be changed by anyone. That law was passed and it became a referendum that any change would have to go through a constitutional referendum, which means that it would have to be passed by the will of the people. So no government official in the state of Nevada, no legislative body can ever modify what was passed in 1990.
Okay, so in other words, so you are personally pro-life, but it kind of reminds me of JFK back 60 years ago. Oh, you follow the Pope or the Constitution? Well, I may be Catholic, but I don't follow the Pope. I follow the Constitution as president.
Right.
So you're following the law, and you're saying that even though you may be personally pro-life, you're not going to challenge the law. You're not going to try to change the law because the law is the law, and
I can't challenge the law. I have no standing
no ability to do it.
to challenge the law. Look, I mean, I think that abortion at 24 weeks is considered a partial birth abortion. Now, in the case of rape, that I do believe in exceptions. Let me just clarify that. I have a 14-year-old daughter. If anything were to happen to her, God forbid, I do believe in exceptions. But
Okay.
That being said, regardless of my personal belief, okay, the law is the law. I'm the top prosecutor of the state. I'm the top cop of the state, the top law enforcement officer. My job is to enforce the laws, whether I agree with them or not.
And that's refreshing because you don't hear that from the other side of the aisle. I'm in Massachusetts, and the attorney general here just ignores the law and does whatever she wants, pretty much. Sounds like very similar to
So does this one.
Yep. That's something that it's what the left does. Okay, let's see what Aaron Ford has to say about it.
Well, John, Aaron Ford has pledged to uphold, quote, the fullest scope of Nevada's statute upholding access to abortion. He seems to say a lot of things that sound like he's doing the good job upholding, but at the same sense, he also sounded the alarm against having any pro-life attorney general and is very anti-pro-life. He is endorsed by several pro-choice advocacy groups, including the National Association to Repeal Abortion Laws and the Nevada Advocates for Planned Parenthood.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So, and another thing to remind the audience about is that the left's position is to make it a federal law and then get rid of the states' rights and force abortion up to birth with no exceptions, which has 8% support of the country. Talk about radical, right? And that's the side he plays. That's who endorses him. That's his side. So,
well, and Attorney General Ford has engaged in many national actions to try to influence politics here in Washington, D.C. from his seat as Attorney General. So he certainly has this idea that the federal government can step in and make big sweeping controls.
Okay. And that's, again, seems to be a pattern here. Okay. All right. Thank you. So next up, we're going to talk about economic opportunity next. 4A, do you support a strong economy, free market capitalism with some checks and balances, and do you oppose expanded government control of our economy? That's the first part of the question. And related to that is, do you oppose corruption and wasteful spending in government? Which that's directly related to inflation, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. Look, I'm a Republican. I'm a fiscally conservative candidate. I absolutely believe in free market economy. I am opposed to the government stifling any type of free market economy.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And let's look up, and that's pretty standard for a conservative. And where do you end up in terms of the Constitution and the will of the people? Let's go to economic opportunity. And you get 2 strong thumbs up for support of free markets, which, by the way, gets about 75% support versus the socialism in this country, and then and support of American workers as well. So you're in line with the Constitution, of the American people on that. Okay, great. Thank you. Let's see what does Aaron Ford have to say about this one?
Well, John, Attorney General Ford claims to support workers, and how he expresses that support is by supporting and strengthening unions. He is a staunch, quote, staunch supporter of unions, and the unions support Ford right back. He's endorsed by the Nevada State AFL-CIO, the UAW, and several other workers' unions. He has been rated very low by free market organizations like the American Conservative Union, who gave him a 7% rating, and the Citizens Outreach organization, who gave him a 9.8% rating due to his support of big government spending and low accountability.
Okay. So no surprise there, because the Democrat Party, Joe Biden's Democrat Party, part of they're kind of they vote together 90 to 90 90 to 100% of the time, and here we go, and Ford gets a negative thumbs down on free markets versus socialism with his support for not only labor unions but all of these other very, very progressive policies, which by definition are socialist. And then workers, he gets a mixed score on that because he's done some things for workers that were good, protecting consumers, protecting workers in some areas, but in other areas he's just jobs are being imported from the borders, and he's not really a champion of workers' rights there. So we get some mixed score. So we're fair. Not everything is negative or positive. We give mixed scores where they're due. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay. Up for our next question now. We are on to we're on to social opportunity. So the first question is, Sigal, do you oppose all forms of identity politics, including victim politics, separating people into opposing groups along racial, ethnic, and gender identity lines?
Absolutely. Look, I'm an immigrant to this country. I'm a minority. I'm a woman. I'm a colored woman. There is nobody who is more opposed to that kind of divisive rhetoric and divisive narrative that people in minority groups think that they are entitled to I guess discounts, right? I mean, to discounts at life and in the workforce. I started my own law firm, never asked anybody for anything, built everything that I have with blood, sweat, and tears. And that's the American way to do it. That really is the American way.
Okay. And again, you are in line with most people. I'm not gonna always do this. The voters, you can go, and viewers, you can go online and check out Sigal's score yourself. But I want to show, why your score, because you're gonna end up with a pretty good score. I think people are gonna getting a good sense of that. And for social opportunity, you get a thumbs up on supporting equal rights for all, but of course, but also opposing all forms of identity, gender, and racial politics, which is just not where the country wants to go. Enough of the division. Let's unite. So, okay, thank you much for that. And we're gonna go to Aaron Ford's spokesperson, since Aaron Ford won't show up. What does Aaron Ford say? What does his record say, Suzanne?
Well, Attorney General Ford actually supports critical race teaching, critical race theory teaching in schools, and considers any bans against CRT to hinder teaching. Those are his words. So he opposes any ban against CRT because he believes it would hinder teaching. He has publicly supported BLM and defended the George Floyd riots. He has been a strong proponent of affirmative action and is proudly endorsed by the Nevada Black Caucus.
Okay. So again, this is kind of standard fare. Joe Biden's Democrat Party. Let's attack conservatives and call that fair and reasonable, but then let's burn cities because we want to win elections, and call that equity, right? So it'd be sad if it wasn't so true. And again, you can go look at the data that you just read out is right within his score. So when people say, "Oh, the score is just made up," no, it's based on data all over the place. So you can see his record, and you can see the fact that 3/4 of Americans oppose things like white privilege training. I mean, people don't want to buy this stuff. 4 out of 5 people are not interested in what the left is selling right here. It's not good for the country, and most Americans agree with that. Okay. All right. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay. Now into the next part of social opportunity. We call social opportunity healthcare is within that. Very important topic, healthcare. Do you support affordable and high-quality market-driven healthcare for all, allowing citizens to choose from a public government-run option or keep their private insurance, which means opposing Medicare for all, which would kill private insurance? What's your position on that, Sigal?
My position is that the private sector always needs to be an alternative. While, there must be healthcare in this country, but I do believe that the private sector is more than able to provide that healthcare.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then again, you are in line with most Americans. For one little example, Medicare for all sounds really nice, but when people hear it kills private healthcare, 10% want that. 90% want nothing to do with healthcare that eliminates private healthcare, and that's how extreme the left has become. Once again, they're the party of extremes, not the right. Okay, so thank you. Let's see what Aaron Ford has to say in his absence, since he doesn't show up to debates.
Then you get your record. And Attorney General Ford's record stands strongly with the Democrat Party in enforcing Medicare for all, enforcing COVID mandates, as we saw, enforcing government-enforced medical rules and regulations. He also used his position as Attorney General, as we mentioned, to openly pressure Nevada residents to make a medical decision in taking the vaccine. And that, as we know, was he made false assertions about the efficacy of that vaccine. Now that we have come to know that, so I think it's inappropriate for an attorney general to make that use that office in that way. But he has used his office to push a medical agenda, which is something I wanted to make note of.
Okay, all right, thank you. And again, most Americans are not for that. The word's out on this, but I knew years ago that this was BS just from doing some very basic research, knowing these things were true. And now it's coming out because they got an office and they think they can do it now. Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. Okay, great. Well, let's move on to the next one then. So next we have two more. We're down to educational opportunity. Then we're going to go to national. So educational opportunity, two parts of this question. Do you support school choice, school vouchers, and more parental involvement in schools? And related to that question, do you oppose teaching radical critical race theory and radical transgender theory to our kids in public schools?
Absolutely. Let's answer the first part. I'm absolutely a proponent of school choice. And to quickly go to the second part, I've said that my second BDR in the state of Nevada during the next legislative session would be a parental bill of rights and curriculum transparency legislation.
Okay, great. Well, I love to hear that. Personally, I'm going to interject the fact that I love it, but so does most Americans. So it doesn't make any difference what I think, but what the Constitution, the people think. So you're in line with the people on that. And very briefly, you are to show where you are at. You get a solid thumbs up on all the educational for school choice, kicking out this radical ideology in the schools, supporting STEM studies, all these things that the most Americans want. So good job on that. Okay. So let's move to Aaron Ford. Where's Aaron Ford in this question of school choice and critical race theory and parents' rights?
Well, John, we look back into his record as a state senator where he voted against school vouchers and opposed the school choice bill of 2015. His pro-union and anti-school choice stance continued into his attorney general career, as he is endorsed by the Nevada Education Association, basically the NEA of Nevada. He supports CRT and other government agendas in education despite parental opposition.
Okay. So then again, that's the reason why he gets something of a mixed score on the overall educational agenda or the educational opportunity bucket here. But on school choice and these radical trend, CRT in schools, he's against the majority of the strong majority of American people on that. So that's why he loses that score on the OppScore system. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, great. So let's move to the next section now. We are now on to the national opportunity, which we have three questions. Well, it's national/state because these are things that are more global in concept and scope. So question number 8, Sigal, do you support our local police, safe communities, and law and order? And do you oppose the defund the police efforts in our government?
Yes, I am a huge proponent of our law enforcement, defending them, not defunding them. I am the candidate in this AG race that is actually endorsed by the two largest police unions in the state, representing over 100 different law enforcement organizations. And I say that proudly. I've always supported law enforcement, and it's great to be endorsed by them. I'm also endorsed by the National Association of Police Officers, on top of the local ones as well. So I look, it's this defund the police movement. It's backfiring big time. Our streets are so unsafe. It's tragic what's happening in my state.
Yeah, and I hear about that. I mean, that's common everywhere. Everywhere in the country where this effort to defund the police has happened. And the people that are hurt most of all are the groups that they claim to support are the biggest victims of the different groups. So, okay, thank you for your support. Very strong support of the police and law and order. I'm sure you're not also, when it comes to bail reform and the revolving doors everywhere. Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, so Suzanne, what's Aaron Ford's position on this?
Well, Attorney General Ford claims to support law enforcement. However, his policies and efforts are focused predominantly on criminals' rights and on limiting the police and limiting what he calls, how did he say that? Putting them under constant investigation of what Ford calls, quote, patterns of unlawful policing. He has stood with BLM. He has accused the Nevada police of racism and has injected identity politics into police reform measures. As a state senator, he introduced Bill SB 50, which eliminated no-knock warrants, and he also SB 58, which undermines qualified immunity. Both of these are very known as anti-police bills.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And, again, no surprise coming from the aisle that he's on. Sigal, what do you think about just respond to that? Because this is such a big part of the Attorney General's job. I mean, do you have any response to the things that were just read out about eliminating qualified immunity, basically blaming the police for everything, putting a nice face on it, saying he cares about security and safety, but his actions are only really there to support the criminals, not the victims, it seems.
That's really the ethos of the way he's run this office and what he genuinely believes. He genuinely believes that the police are the enemy. It's insane that this guy is the top cop of the state of Nevada. How do you do that? How do you support top cop?
Sorry about that. Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense to me. And I think any American would say the top cop is basically on the side of the criminals. And you see this in New York. You see that all over the country where they're just revolving door. They're going out to rape, burn, loot, and murder more. And, Kathy Hochul just last night debating Lee Zeldin in New York said, why are you so concerned about this for? I mean, my God, I think that might have just lost her the election. What are you so concerned about this? I don't know, people getting murdered at triple the rate they used to. I would think that it's a rational thing to be concerned about. Okay, so thank you for your detailed answer on that very important topic. Okay, we have two more. So question 9. Do you support border security, lawful immigration, and stemming border crime and drugs?
Yes, absolutely. Nevada is right between California and Arizona. We've got a border opening in California, and we've got Arizona. We've got Nogales. And I have to tell you that being smack dab between these two states, we are seeing an increase in fentanyl, increase in trafficking. The human trafficking is incredible here in Las Vegas. The amounts of fentanyl that are being found up in the rural communities, up north from Las Vegas is incredible. We have to seal that border. We have to build the wall. And, if we could spend $75 billion to the Ukraine, we could spend $3 billion to finish that wall.
Yes, and it just doesn't make any sense to most people. We'll talk more about that, but I was just at a debate last week where Democrat Congressman Seth Moulton, who I ran against for Congress 2 years ago, said walls don't work. He said walls don't work. If it's 50 feet, they'll just get a ladder that's 51 feet and go. All over the world, walls work. You cordon people into certain choke points if they do work. And these people want to just make again, have us believe that water's not wet, the sky's not blue, and walls don't work. And they're proven to work, but they don't care about the facts.
I'll tell you what, as an Israeli American, ask the Israelis if walls work. They work very well.
Yes, they work very, very well. And again, I mean, and again, most people believe in common sense border walls, and you win on all those points right here. So you'll see border security, and you're strong on border security. And guess what? Most Americans agree. So it's populist. Okay, so you're in good company. Called the majority of the American people. Forget the fact that the Constitution's requirement of the executive branch is to keep us safe and have borders. It's constitutional, by the way, on top of that. Okay. So, Suzanne, what is Aaron Ford's position on this? I wonder what it is. Let's see.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, this was one of the instances where Attorney General Ford joined with a coalition of other attorneys general from around the country, 16 attorneys general, who asked the Biden administration to pause all deportation while he was able to sort out the border situation. So though Ford has supported anti-trafficking bills, he also supports the open borders that allow human trafficking, and he, with his fellow Democrats, supports sanctuary cities and giving benefits and voting rights to illegal immigrants.
And again, this is just what this is the data on his score. If you go to the explanation, people don't want what they're selling, or he gets the thumbs down. Not because it's a biased system or anything. It's because he's against the American people and the Constitution on this, which means he gets the big thumbs down and loses points on the score system.
That's correct.
I hope everyone gets it by now watching. Okay. Okay, great. So we have one more question to go. And we're saving a very important question for last, which is of national importance. Do you support, adhere to, and publicly promote transparent, secure, free and fair elections and voter ID laws?
Absolutely. I actually litigated voter ID laws here in Nevada. We had a ballot initiative. Well, it was a ballot initiative that they were getting signatures on. And believe it or not, Mark Elias sweeped into Nevada and tried to get that ballot initiative thrown out. Unfortunately, the measure still withstood scrutiny, but the group that was funding the measure ran out of money, and they couldn't get it on this year's ballot. But I litigated voter ID. I mean, I'm a strong proponent of voter ID. I don't like universal mail-in ballots, which is what we have here in Nevada. I argued to repeal AB 321 in court. We lost that one. But, we'll bring it back again. We're going to continue fighting for transparent voting rights.
Great. Okay, good. And I'll say good because, again, you're on the side of the American people on that. It's common sense. Voting ID laws have about 80%. Anywhere I see anywhere from 80 to 85% of support of the public, because people don't. It's cheating. I mean, obviously, you need the ID to go anywhere. And for anybody to say you don't need voter, to call it racist is it's proven falsehood by the left. So thank you for standing up for real voting rights. And let's see what the other side has to say. This is the last question for Aaron Ford, who once again refused to join us, is afraid to debate and face the voters. Shame on Aaron Ford for not debating today.
Well, this record might be the reason. He is endorsed by Let America Vote, a left-leaning political organization that opposes any voter ID by complaining it specifically disenfranchises Black voters, as you mentioned, and minority voters. Ford also, again, joined with 22 attorneys general nationally to press for the passing of the For the People Act, or H.R. 1, which, as you know, would strip all states of the rights to enact voter ID laws. He has rejected the notion of election fraud investigation for the 2020 election and has sought to squash state voting rights. He also has called, what did I say here? Oh, he has called any election integrity efforts for the 2020 election extreme right wing.
Okay. All right. Well, that I'm not surprised. And I mean, Sigal, Hillary Clinton, the 2016 nominee, just today, or is it yesterday, said that there's already going to be election theft in 2024. She claimed the election was stolen in 2016. So I guess the rule is you can say that there's election theft, and you can say all that if you're a Democrat lost, right? But if a Republican lost, you're not allowed to say. Then that's considered election denying. It's kind of interesting that they can have it both ways, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 2016 we had to hear for 4 years. We heard that the election was stolen from Hillary Clinton. Yeah, and it was throughout along with every obstruction, obviously
Yes.
known to man, to the Trump administration. But we also had to hear that narrative that Trump was not duly elected, and when they do it, it's okay. If the Republicans do it, they're QAnon crazies.
And don't forget the fact that the Russian collusion thing has been proven to be made up and false, and everything on it was made up and manufactured, and they pushed through all these warrants illegally and all kinds of stuff. That was not only was it BS, but they also invented things completely out of whole cloth. And now, but they can be called election, but they're not called election deniers. It's really funny how they forget about history like that, right?
Right. Well, they just keep on rewriting it.
That's right. They just keep rewriting it. Exactly. They're specialists at that.
Their history.
That's what Marxists do, and I think they're kind of on that side a little bit. I mean, maybe a lot actually. So I would love to show you your side-by-side score, because this is what your score. This is right from the website. Anybody can go to the website, look you up, and go to there's a little button on the upper right to go and print out the survey. But you'll see that on this this is the side-by-side. You have a 3.6 score, very strong pro-opportunity score. Anything north of a 3.5 means on the vast majority of issues, you're working for the people in the Constitution. Anything under a 2 is bad. Anything under a 0 is anti-opportunity, means your representative has to go because they're working against you in the Constitution. So negative 1.6 is really bad. And we just went through all the data. We just skimmed the surface. There's 30 different points. We went over about 10. So congratulations, Sigal. You are definitively working for the people, and we have the non-biased facts to prove it. So I wanted to show that to you before we wrap up.
Great. Fantastic.
And is there anything else that you'd like to say before we go to your voters?
Polls. Just get out to the polls. Look, I'm a candidate that is going to prosecute public corruption. I think we need transparency in the state of Nevada. I think this attorney general has colluded and ensured that public corruption stays rampant here in the state. And that's the most important thing to me. I'm leaving the private sector after 20 years to really bring back our administration to the people and not to, the political elite.
Great. Well, thank you very much for running again. And again, this is not about left versus right or red versus blue. It's them versus you. And the them is the Aaron Ford side by definition of his score. And the you're fighting for the people. And it's not partisan. It is 100%. Thank you for running, and thank you for being a servant of the people instead of a tyrant trying to lord over them, like not just the left, but other politicians sometimes on the right do as well. So thank you very much for running. We wish you luck 2 weeks. Everyone, please vote. We're going to wrap up right now. Thank you again, Sigal.
Thank you so much.
So thank you everyone for joining us here at the Opportunity Score Debate, with or without the candidates, for the critical race for Nevada Attorney General. We thank Republican nominee Sigal Chattah for joining us and the Chattah campaign, Suzanne Monk, and special thanks to our core of hardworking pro-America volunteers and our generous donors at GOUSA, where we unabashedly stand for American values and the voice of the forgotten 80%. We are producing more debates like this for candidates all over the country in the next 2 weeks, so be sure to check them out and support politicians who support your values and interests as detailed in their OppScore ratings. Find us at go-usa.us to learn more, donate, and search over 500 candidates that we have scored. And again, be sure to vote, and vote smart this election. And remember, it's not red versus blue, it's them versus you. Go out to the polls, and thank you for watching again.